the Bristol Flyers Podcast.
Hello, welcome back to the Bristol Flyers Podcast. It's been a long week, hasn't it? It feels like ages since we last did a podcast, but it's only been a week.
Is it? Do you know what? I hadn't thought about that. It genuinely does feel like a long week, which is weird, isn't it? We've had a lot going on this week, haven't we, Joel?
It has been a very busy week, which we will get onto a little bit later on. Obviously, I'm Joel Osborne. He is Sam Hardy, as always. And Sam, this is episode number 34, which is our UWE basketball special.
Mate, it is episode 34 as well. That's gone a lot.
The season's just flown by this year. We literally, time has gone so quickly, and we are, episode number 34 right now.
You were telling me earlier, I don't know if you were going to say this anyway, but there's only something like 11 games left for the whole rest of the season, right?
Yeah, 2 months left. 2 months left of the regular season to go. March and April. And then hopefully we make a nice deep playoff run into May as well.
Yeah, and then we'll be looking forward to some admin. Joel, Glastonbury picks, won't we, Joel?
Admin's Glastonbury picks me coming back this summer. He's got tickets, I can confirm. We're coming to you a day later than usual this week because this is Thursday, if you're listening to the podcast the day it comes out. And you want to know why, Sam?
Well, I do know why, but I want the listeners to know why, Joel.
Because last night we took the podcast back on the road once again. What an episode it was.
We can't stop ourselves going on the road, can we, Joe?
It's great. I love how we can sort of be in here in the studio and then take it out on the road like this. And we went down to the University of West of England because you and I, both UWE alumni ourselves, we used to play for the UWE men's basketball team back in the day. It has transformed so much, though, since then. Back when we were playing, it was like Western 1A or Western 2A.
Not a clue. I can't even remember. Because it was irrelevant back then, wasn't it? In the nicest way. Like, it wasn't like we were a big deal as a university in basketball. We had some good players, but it wasn't like we were competing for anything major. We did all right. We had fun. We trained hardish, but
it was very social as well, we like to say. Social basketball.
Yes. A lot of fresh waters.
A lot of fresh
on
water being drank on Wednesday nights. And even Monday nights after practice, we used to go on the SU, didn't we?
No.
Not at all.
If the SU is what you call the weight room, right?
Getting our hard work in. Got to stay hydrated, mate. Got to stay hydrated. Of course, UWE, now they play in BUCS Premier South, which is the highest level you can play in the country. And they won Premier South for the very first time ever in club history, so that was fantastic.
What was their what am I trying to say?
You put me on the spot here and you asked me what their record was, and I can't tell you what their record was because I haven't got it down in my notes. However, it is the very first time that they have won the conference title, which is amazing, and now they are in the playoffs. So yesterday was their first round game, or their quarter-final, and they played against Durham, and we took the podcast on the road because there's a lot of Flyers representation in this UWE team this year, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about it a little bit. Like, we don't have an official like basketball link to like the UWE and the Flyers. It's not like an official. You run into the you're in UWE and that means you're going to play for Flyers. But what we do have obviously is UWE are a partner of the Bristol Flyers. They sponsor the back of shirts, so that's UWE as a general, not their basketball team. But because of that, like if players are here, they're studying and they're playing for the Flyers, of course they're going to like be linked up to UWE, aren't they, Joel?
Yeah, and a couple of players play for the first team. So Corey Samuels and Malcolm Delpeche, both studying whilst playing for the professional team. And then there's also representation from the men's second team. So Ephraim Shamaga, who plays for the Flyers second team. Or Ibuka Ekwe as well, who plays for the Flyers men's too, who's been absolutely killing it, by the way, in Flyers in Division 2. He had like a 40-point game. We spoke about it a couple of weeks ago with Jelani, but he's getting like 40-point games in NBL Div 2.
And all the boys, he gets on so well with all the boys, because every time we're talking, they mention him every time, don't they? They must love him.
He's very much a key part of the SCAT team. He is one of the founding members, as I understand it to be. And also Josh Rogers, who plays for the UWE team. He didn't suit up last night because he's sporting an injury, but we did get a chance to catch up with him on the podcast when we were down there. So we'll have that little exclusive interview for you a little bit later on in the episode. So it's great. And throughout this episode, we'll be here in the studio doing our usual podcasty bits. We've got news, we've got word of the week, all the things that you love to hear on the Flyers podcast. And we're going to space it out with a couple of exclusive chats from our trip down to UWE.
Very much looking forward to it, Joel. Should be good.
Should be awesome. But first, a bit of housekeeping for us to do at our end. Before we head over to UWE, we wanted to just take this opportunity to thank everyone who has been tuning into the podcast so far this season. Our numbers have grown so much, and whether you're listening on the podcast feed or if you're watching on YouTube, we really appreciate your support.
We appreciate that your support, even though sometimes we forget that it's a audio as well as visual, and we end up going, oh, flip, we need to describe it better. So if you are listening, and we do that, we do apologise, but we love having you, and we're sort of excited to see where it can go next season and further on, Joe. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, there's built a little community of podcast listeners now and watchers on YouTube now, and it's growing each and every week. So if you are enjoying the Bristol Flyers podcast, do please like and subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube, and leave a comment in the comment section, because it's just down here in the section below your shot, and we do read every comment in the comment section. So if you leave us a message or a question, we'll ask it on the next episode of the podcast. And if you're listening on the audio feed, obviously you can't neglect the listeners. Do give us a rating and a review. We have promised that we will read out every single review that we receive on the podcast. We've had some interesting ones so far, haven't we?
I mean, there's been some excellent ones, but also for the first time today, we've never done this before. We might do it again, we might not. We're streaming onto TikTok live down here in the corner.
Just down there in the corner, we are on TikTok. You can't see it on camera, but TikTok viewers are watching us right now. A little preview of the episode before it drops, because it's going to drop later tonight. It's like podcast inception.
There you go. I think we might do that more. We don't know, Joe. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah,
don't we?
We thought we'd give it a go and see how we get on. But shout out to everyone who's watching on TikTok right now as well. Massive thank you for your support.
We had a couple of kids just saying on there, oh, like Corey came to my school and whatever, and it's the middle of the day, so we're just saying, like, stay in school though, yeah, keep learning.
Of course. You can hop on TikTok while you're on lunch break. It's absolutely fine. And also, we want to hear some of your Bristol Flyers origin stories. So if you've if you want to share a message with us, pop us an email, pop us a message. We're on all socials at Bristol Flyers. You leave a message in the comments. How did you get involved with Bristol Flyers? We want to know, and maybe we'll read some out in future episodes.
Yeah, that'd be great.
How did you get involved with Flyers, Sam? Can you remember?
I mean, I've always my first interaction with Flyers is I actually sat. I played for Taunton Tigers back in the day, and I finished college, which was down at Richard Hewish College, and I started playing with the Div 1 team, and so I actually played against Flyers in my first match. I came and sat up in SGS. It was much different to what it was now. Probably got I got 3 minutes, 1 turnover, 2 points, but we'll take it, John.
Hey, we'll take it. Hey, if you're plus on the plus minus, mate, you're doing good.
So that was my first interaction, but then obviously got invited. Do you know what was good? I do obviously the announcing down there. When we were at uni, the year after we finished, it was the year we did our final what's it called, varsity match. Steve was like, wouldn't it be cool, or one of you was like, wouldn't it be cool if we like called the players out like they do in America? We had a rubbishy little mic, a rubbishy little speaker, and I was like, yeah, I'll do it, why not? I just started doing the whole like silly call out, and then from that point got a few more call ups to do the announcing, mate, and then just gone from there. So there you go.
Awesome. That's such a great story. Like, we love those origin stories. So if you've got an origin story about how you got involved with Bristol Flyers, do send them in, and we'll read them out on next week's show.
What was your origin story, Joel?
I used to play National League for a little team called Dorset Storm. You're right there, mate. You just spilt your coffee. A little team called Dorset Storm, and I played under 16s National League, and then we went up to our family moved to Bristol. So then I played under 18s for Flyers and joined the SGS Basketball Academy, and that's where I first met Andreas. This is like a 16-year-old me, and then I've played with the team for 2 years while studying at the college. I went to UWE after that, and I still stayed involved, volunteering for the team, the Div 1 team at the time. And now I'm full-time employed by the club and in my 9th season, so it's just sort of grown from there.
Love that, Joe. Hey, Dorset Storm, so would you have played against Taunton Tigers in your
100%. 100%. We would have played
so we would have played against each other.
I reckon we probably have at some point. I know our path definitely crossed when I was at SGS College.
But before that, I mean, like when we were way like under 14 or something.
Yeah, 100%.
So funny.
That's crazy.
We need to try and get some, see if there's any pictures or clips of that sort of thing back. There won't be, will there?
We'll see if we can dig some out. I reckon I got some pictures of me playing basketball as a youngster.
Yeah, we'll see what we can
dig them out.
Nice one.
I'm sure everyone wants to hear about us playing as youngsters. So shall we move on with the podcast?
Let's do it.
Just before we get to our bit at UWE. Busy couple of days down here at Ashton Gate. Obviously, last night after the UWE game finished, you headed back down here for the Lionesses down here, Arnold Clark Cup.
Unbelievable game. It was tough for Belgium, I should say. England won 6-1, which I'm sure all of you are aware of. It was. I should say it was very one-sided. I must say though, probably the best goal was the Belgium goal. It was unbelievable. She cut inside left foot, whipping all the way across over the keeper into the top left corner. It was incredible. But yeah, England were dominant. It was such a good game. 26,145, I think, was the final number. Who was here at Ashton Gate, which is just, Joel, it's just a few hundred under like capacity. So it was unbelievable, mate, to see it happen.
Yeah, and hopefully another expected. Well, it is a complete sellout. The Man City game here on Tuesday. Bristol City are hosting Manchester City in the FA Cup. And I know a couple of weeks ago on the podcast we said we wouldn't have any tickets available for you. Like, if you want any tickets, tough luck. But we lied, Sam.
We didn't lie. Did we lie? Or
we've got tickets available. We have two of our Flyers allocation of tickets that aren't being used that we are doing for a competition giveaway right now over on Twitter. So we are giving away a pair of tickets to Bristol City versus Man City in the FA Cup right here at Ashton Gate. Tickets are completely sold out. Only hospitality still available.
Is that true? Even hospitality is available?
I think so.
Okay.
But you can get yourself a pair of tickets by entering our competition, and we'll only give them away if we can reach 12,500 followers by Monday.
Right, now on Twitter?
On Twitter.
How many followers are we on at the moment, Joel?
Right now, at the time of recording, we are just over 500 followers away from the big target, so we're about to hit 12,000. And the first, I can tell you, we've already gained under 900 new followers in this competition on Twitter already. So if you are a Bristol City fan who's just followed the Flyers online, welcome to the Flyers family, and hopefully we'll see you down at a game. I was going to say hope we see you down at a game soon, but they're all sold out. So hopefully we'll see you down at a game when the Flyers come down to Ashton Gate in a few years' time. Because that's the audience we want to tap into with Flyers. We want City fans, we want Bears fans to enjoy Flyers basketball. So if you are new to following the club, a very warm welcome, and thanks for listening to the podcast.
Yeah, and we will see you down here in a few years' time. Very exciting.
Great stuff. Right, I think it's about time we get ourselves over to UWE, don't you think?
A little bit of podcast magic, is it, John?
It is time for a bit of podcast magic. As we go back in time to last night's game, UWE versus Durham in the BUCS playoff quarter-final, and as Sam and I rocked up to the Centre for Sport, we got a bit of nostalgia.
This is the Bristol Flyers Podcast.
Right, well, we are here at the UWE Centre for Sport. A bit of podcast magic for you. And Sam, this brings back some memories, doesn't it?
Mate, the clock has just rolled back about 15 years. Joel and I used to walk in here in our sweaty little gear, looking good, looking a little less beardy than we are now, I imagine. I can literally see my flat up there, Mendip 413. Go on, Jack, have a little look. The centre one, on that second one down, that is where I used to live, while I was at uni, Joel. It's so weird being here.
Mate, I was Brecon 207, so just up that way. Right, literally, so much has changed, but so much has stayed the same. It's incredible. Obviously, today is UWE's big game. They are playing against Durham in the quarterfinals of BUCS. They are the South Premier champions, which for the very first time ever. It's amazing, isn't it?
I mean, like we talked about before, we were in like Western 2B when we first started, got promoted to Western 2A, and then I don't know how many levels it is. Is it 2 more levels from there that they went through?
Yeah, I think it was back-to-back promotions, and now they're up in the Premier South competing in the playoffs, which is great to see. Lots of Flyers representation, by the way, on this UWE team. We'll find out who's on the court a little bit later on, but Sam, should we go inside and see who we can speak to?
Yeah, it's a little wet out here, so let's get in the dry, and let's get going, mate.
Right, we made it into the sports hall. We're in from the rain, and we are joined by probably one of the most hardest working members of the Flyers family, Owen Parker. Owen, welcome to the Bristol Flyers podcast. Your very first appearance.
Yeah, thanks very much, Joe. I appreciate that.
Tell us more about behind the scenes about what you do for Bristol Flyers on a week by week basis.
Okay, so I'm the team manager, assistant coach for the Flyers second team. So that's a practice every Tuesday and Thursday, and then games on the weekends. I drive the minibus when we're away or setting up the home games. And then I'm also a table official and statistician, so I work the BBL games and lots of the club's other games at the junior level.
We want to know, Owen, obviously a big playoff game today for UWE. A bunch of Flyers first team players in there, some Flyers second team players in there as well. Who are the players that we should be watching out for today?
So definitely Malcolm Delpeche and Corey Samuels from the first team. Everybody knows those guys. They always have a huge impact in these games. I think you've also got to keep an eye on Ephraim Shamanga. He's number 15 for UWE today. He's a new addition. This will be his second game. But he's a defensive fiend. He won the All-Conference Georgia Peach Belt Division 2 NCAA All Defensive Player of the Year. And then also from our second team, we've got Ibuka Ekwe, number 13, real athlete. He had a great dunk in one of the earlier UWE games, so watch out for him getting above the rim today as well as Malcolm. And then you've got a couple of guys that play for the Hurricanes as well. Tyrell Capleton's really active on the boards. We'll see him get a bunch of rebounds.
Also, with Owen, you've got to understand that if there's anything basketball-based in Bristol, you're going to see him there. We'd love to have you on for an episode. Would you like to come and join us?
Absolutely, 100%.
Perfect. We'll make it happen. Great stuff. Right, Sam. Let's go out. Let's go see who else we can speak to because everything's starting to fire up now. We're around 15 minutes away from tip-off ahead of the big game. Let's go see who we can speak to.
We are here with none other than Mr. Bloomer, absolute legend. And I hear a little birdie tells me that it's actually your birthday today. Am I right?
You are right, yeah, it is.
Now, Bloomer, you got to tell us what your job is around here, what you're doing today, what sort of you do during the week, especially today.
So basically, you kind of just set up kind of all the UWE sports teams that we do here. Mainly kind of the basketball, squash, and American football teams, which is like our main performance sport team. And basically just help promote their team and then just kind of like create a buzz about the events that are going on. Just try and make it as good of an atmosphere that we can, really.
You talk about the atmosphere. We've got our foam fingers right here ahead of the game. And we've got a live DJ, which Sam, we need to get this live DJ's contact details.
Mate, I reckon we should get him down at the Flyers games.
You alright?
Yeah.
Look at us making plans right here on the podcast. Tell us what like a usual day-to-day looks like for you for like a game day. What are you doing right now ahead of tip-off?
Yeah, so I'm currently kind of doing like the highlights and stuff for our team. That's kind of what I do for like the Instagram account that we've got. And just kind of like create more of a buzz for the team really and just create an all over atmosphere for the game.
And you got to give them a shout out. Where can Flyers fans follow the content coming out of UWE?
Oh yes, at UWE Performance Sport or at UWE Bristol Sport as well. So yeah.
And I know like obviously you're biased, but genuinely looking at it, who's winning today, my man?
It's got to be UWE. It's just got to be. I mean, they're a really strong team this year, to be fair, and like they've done really well. So hopefully we can just take it all the way as well. So.
Well, I need a prediction. How many points are UWE winning by?
Oh, it's got to be. I reckon. I'm going to say 18 points. I think.
18-point UWE win.
Yeah.
Well, you have it here first on the Flyers podcast. Bloomer thinks they're going to win by 18 points. There's 6.5 minutes to go until tip-off. Let's see who else we can go and find. Steve Devereaux joins us here on the podcast. We had you at the coffee shop episode. Just talk us through how much UWE's transformed because, of course, you know, back in our day when we were playing for the clubs, so much has changed.
Yeah, it's great to see the progress. I mean, we would only get this many people here maybe once a year for the varsity game against UOB, but they're getting regular crowds. They've got a DJ, they've got foam fingers being given out. It's awesome to see how much it's growing. BBL players playing. When we played, obviously, Flyers was Div 1. So we had players like Istis and Mustafa, but having BBL players on the team now and seeing them in Prem and get to the playoffs is a whole nother level.
Now, what you guys probably don't know about these two is that Steve took over being the president and Joel went head of media, and these two combined revolutionised the whole of the way that UWE ran. They formalised it. Steve got us a local league team. He got a lot of the guys playing in the National League team at that time as well. Like made all the socials, the whole team like linked together a bit more. So basically, it was unbelievable what he did there. And then Joel made the media like so sexy, like, and it wouldn't be what it is today without these two right there. I can tell you.
Well, literally, the buzzer has gone. Both boys are about to take the court, and we're all set for tip-off. Well, the referee has just come over and said that because there's people on the front row sat courtside, that they need to move out of the way. There's so many people in here, Sam.
Well, they're going to flip these curtains across as well in a minute, and we're going to have more people watching. Like, it's actually amazing, isn't it, Joel, seeing it like this?
There's literally, I have to say, there's about 150 people in the sports hall right now, and literally we have about 6 feet of room around the edge of the court, and it's packed. Final checks, everyone's cleared the court because it is absolutely rammed in here. We're all set for tip-off, and Delpeche is going up for the jump. Straight off the bat, Ibuka Ekwe goes and gets the first two of the game. We are off. We'll see you in a few moments' time. Can we just talk about what just happened to start the game, by the way? UWE off to a 9-0 run to start the game. Malcolm Delpeche grabs the defensive rebound, and a player just bounces off him, the brick wall of Malcolm Delpeche, and UWE go drain a three at the other end.
He hits the deck so hard. I hope we can find a clip of that, because that is unbelievable, Joel. You didn't even see him there. It was unbelievable. I love it.
9-0 the score early on. Early timeout called by Durham. 8.5 minutes to go in this opening quarter. Oh! Well, that is it for the end of the first quarter. Sam, what an incredible first quarter for UWE. They lead 22 points for 10 after the first 10 minutes.
I mean, they went on this 9-0 run. It then sort of got a little bit scrappy in the middle, a little bit. But I've seen some great play here, a few threes. I'm really excited for the rest of the match, Joel.
It's one of those games where there's a lot of chatter out here today.
Little chippy, but we like that, don't we?
We love it. I don't think you can get a better atmosphere. I mean, it's all compact in here. There's probably about 100 to 150 people in here in the sports hall. Incredible. They've just opened up the second half of the sports hall to let more people in. It's incredible.
I've seen Dana Dozy in the corner, ex-Flyers player. We've got a few others here. VJ's upstairs. We might chat to him in a bit. Who knows? The crowd's awesome. I'm buzzing, Joel.
Well, there is 5 minutes and change to go in the first half. UWE have a 39-16 lead. And joining us now is none that we spoke about him on the podcast. It is the Young Hill brothers, Kobe and Corey. Fellas, welcome to the Bristol Flyers Podcast. How's it going?
We're good. How are you guys?
Oh my God, that's a massive dunk!
Corey Samuels with an alley-oop dunk! I'm so sorry! I was so excited. I'm finding it hard to interview here because these things are going off right now.
Sheesh! That was outrageous. Back to our usual business. Fellas, welcome to the podcast. I hear you guys have been tearing it up for Flyers Juniors this season.
Yeah. I mean, I'm playing well. I'm trying to improve. Like, Kobe's getting buckets. Like, we're just trying to improve. Like, yeah.
He says he's playing well. How many points out of the last 3 games have you got?
I don't know. How much?
I think he scored 142, so he had a 55 piece, 42 and a 45. So.
In 3 games. Some people go the whole season without scoring that many. That's true.
And what have you guys made of this game so far? Because a bunch of Flyers players involved, the men's first team and the second team playing for you. What have you made of this game so far?
I can't lie. I called it at the start. I said it was going to be a blow-up, and I'm clearly right. But yeah, it's good. It's good to see the guys playing out here. Like, they're at the university as well. It's like other guys in the academy can follow the path, which is good. So yeah, it's brilliant to watch.
Like, it's really inspiring, especially people who've been at the program since young, like Corey and like all that. Like a load of my teammates, they inspire to be like him. They want to play for the men's team. They want to make it pro. So it's good. It's great to see. Like, he's inspirational guy. Like, yeah, it's great to see.
I think with Corey as well, he's so humble.
Yeah.
Like the way he goes about it is like, he's just professional about the way he is. Everything he does is like, he wants to be good at it.
Yeah.
So like, I think for young guys, he's like a real role model for them.
Well, that will do it for the end of the first half. A big lead for UWE. They lead 48 points to 25. Sam, what do you make of that first half?
I mean, is it too early to say? I don't think so. It's been absolutely one-sided at the moment. They did just hit a 3 at the end there to get up to 28. So it is a 20-point game, but I think UWE are going to come out firing in the second half on that.
It's been a really physical game as well, isn't it? I mean, one of their players has 4 fouls. I mean, he came in, he picked up his 3rd, and then quickly picked up his 4th, and will probably sit for the rest of the game. So a tough afternoon for them. Imagine coming all the way down from Durham as well, by the way. What a long journey that is.
Come down to Durham, get 4 fouls in the first half, sit on the bench for the rest of the His coach was not happy with him either, was he?
No, not at all. There was definitely words being exchanged there at the half-time interval. But we've reached the end of the first half. It is a 20-point lead to the UWE Jets. They lead 48 points to 28. Let's throw back to Joel and Sam, who are ready to run through the news in the studio.
This is the Bristol Flyers Podcast.
Thanks, Joel and Sam, down at UWE. Big lead for UWE at half-time, 20-point lead.
And even though it was 20 points, they actually hit a 3 just before that as well, as in like Durham did. So it was more than that. It felt like it should be more than 20 as well.
It did. I think they started on that 9-0 run, didn't they?
Yeah.
It seemed like it's one of those games where everyone's fired up for it pre-tip off. So you go on that early run, and then and you'll see as the game goes on later in our second VT package that it kind of stays at a similar sort of level. Either they start tiring or shots aren't dropping, but it kind of stays. It's kind of a routine game, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I mean, you want to see it. You do want to see a competition, don't you? But like when it's your team with the blowout, you don't mind too much, do you, Joe?
No. And obviously, great to speak to some members of the Flyers family down there. Lots of different members in and around the club down there, supporting both. The UWE team that has a lot of Flyers representation in it. Owen Parker. We haven't had him on the podcast yet, but we definitely need to make that happen.
In any organisation or anything like this, especially when there's not loads of money involved, like you do need these certain people who go above and beyond. They put more energy and effort in than like literally they probably have spare. He works for the NHS as well, by the way, so he's always like probably working like his actual job, and then he's putting all his time into doing the table or managing a team or running whatever he's doing. He's doing literally everything, and if it's Bristol basketball, it's probably got his name on it, and it like somewhere along the line, and you need these people, but it is tough on them, isn't it, Joel?
I mean, it's like we've both volunteered prior to working for the club, and that's the club's identity is for its volunteers. So people like Owen, and you say like one of the hardest working people in British basketball. He really is like one of the hardest working people out there in terms of what he does. He does so much stuff. So we'll definitely make that happen. Our little statisticians themed episode of the pod. Just find out what they're doing on a game day, because you see them tapping away at the laptop on sat courtside. But I don't think people realise quite how much is going on, because you've got someone calling into the other person's ear because someone can't basically take their eyes off the screen, and then the other person's tapping away at the laptop, like putting all the stats in, the assists, the field goals, the makes, the misses, everything like that. It's crazy.
And they rarely make mistakes. That's part of the training is so intense for it, and it's making sure that they don't make many mistakes, because stats are important. They sort of help the live stats are important because they help the sort of team see what's going on, like tactically what they can do. But also afterwards, it's just like loads of people's if people's stats aren't correct, lots of their careers are made on how their stats are looking. So it's important, all this stuff, isn't it, Joel?
Yeah. We spoke to Alex Bloomer as well on the podcast. We didn't actually first name him because we just called him Bloomer.
I've known Bloomer probably 10 years now, and I've only ever called him Bloomer.
Oh, same. Yeah, we call him Bloomer, but I just realised watching that VT back that we'd never actually said his first name. So shout out Alex Bloomer. Happy birthday for yesterday, by the way. And he obviously sent us through that footage that we used in the package as well. If you're listening on the podcast, if you are watching on YouTube, the footage that we played of the Malcolm dunk in there, some of the great plays as well, and that Corey dunk, by the way. That alley-oop.
My goodness me.
I need to see that in the BBL. When are we seeing that in the BBL?
I ruined the interview we were having, Joe, because we were kind of watching one eye on the game, talking to the Hill brothers, and then I ruined it, mate, because I got so crazy because I was loving it.
Hey, it's all part of the experience, eh? Obviously, great to chat to Steve Devereaux as well. We speak about him quite a lot on the podcast because he's in the office with us. But he obviously is the commercial manager for the team, and obviously he played for UWE with us back in the day. That's how we all met. We all met at UWE when we were students. So, and to see how it sort of transformed since he was president of UWE basketball is great to see.
And he's actually currently travelling all the way up to Manchester right now to watch Manchester United play Barcelona in the Europa League.
So if you need a little podcast to listen to on your way back, you can probably listen to this like that. So shout out, Steve. How are we doing?
I love it.
Right. Last thing we've got to do before we go to the news. And on that last package, we spoke to Corey and Kobe Hill. Obviously, we spoke to Christian Hill during our open training episode. If you remember that far back, we were chatting to him while he was operating the shot clock. Christian, obviously one of our long-term volunteers for the club, another member of the team that does above and beyond for the Flyers program. His two kids both play in the Flyers player pathway, and you've got to give a shout out to Corey Hill, because he plays for Flyers under 16s, and he has been absolutely balling out.
I mean, you hear it there, like, what is it, 140 something points in 3 games he's had himself. He had a game, mate, where he was hacked and went to the line 29. He had 29 shots from the free throw line, and he got 27 from 29.
Yeah,
isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is crazy. And like a lot of people will ask, like, oh, who's the next player? You see, Greg Street came out of the Flyers Academy, then Josh Rogers comes through, Corey Samuels comes through, and people will be like, who's the next player coming through the Flyers junior pathway that we should be keeping our eye on? Corey Hill is one of the players that you should be keeping your eyes on. He's been playing incredible. I mean, got a shout out for like their most recent game. I was messaging Christian actually this morning, his dad, and they defeated the 17-0 Sussex Storm under 16s Prem National League. So they were previously 17-0. They're playing at SGS Wise. Corey has an amazing game. He dropped 45 points, 8 rebounds and 5 assists.
What is going on? 45 points is unheard of, Joel. It's just crazy, isn't it?
Like Luka Doncic numbers out there. Great to see.
The other thing, though, is if you are following VJ King on Instagram, VJ King just shared a video of Kobe in the third quarter of their match.
Kobe Hill.
Yeah, Kobe hitting 6 threes in 6 from 6 in one quarter as well.
Wow.
And VJ shares that video on his Instagram. It's a crazy. Those boys are amazing, mate.
Yeah, so certainly 2 players to keep an eye on coming up through the Flyers player pathway. So Corey Hill and Kobe Hill. Certainly wants to watch.
And both so humble. They don't go there going, yeah, I'm the boy, I'm really good. They're very humble boys. Christian's a great dad. He pushes them, but he looks after them as well, and you can just see that in the way that they are. So, yeah, love it.
Awesome. Right. We're back here in the studio, so we have to do our usual podcasty bits. So, Sam, it is time to get to this week's news.
You're listening to the Bristol Flyers Podcast.
Right, here's a look at what's been going on up and down the league this week. And we have to start by talking about the 2 games at the weekend for the Flyers BBL team against Newcastle Eagles and the London Lions.
What a game on Friday night. If you were there, you would know how amazing that actually was. Were you enjoying it, Joel?
I was, yeah. No on commentary, yeah. I had a bit of a bunged up cold, so I was a bit stuffy on the broadcast. Wasn't my best game on the call. However, it was a great game of basketball to watch. Flyers, they trailed by double digits in the first quarter, and credit to them, they rallied back in the second half to lead by 3 going into the fourth, and then just a professional way to finish out the game. They won the fourth quarter, 27 points to 18, and defended home court.
I think whenever you're sort of watching basketball, whether you're home or away, or whether you're like supporting the team or you're the opposition are there, there's always these key moments that happen. And they are daggers. They are daggers to the soul. And what was happening is there's 2 occasions. I think one was VJ King, that long 3-pointer from the top of the key.
Yeah.
With a guy in his face, he just catches and shoots, and it is just like, they shouldn't have gone. Well, it should have. It's VJ, but like,
yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah,
you know what you're gonna get. But still, like, as the other team, like, oh, that is a dagger. And there was 1 second left on the 24-second clock, and Jelani hit a 3-pointer literally from his hip. He took it from here, and he's hitting it, and it was clean. And I was like, if I was on the other team, you're like, oh!
Yeah, so really frustrating. I mean, he played 23.5 seconds of great defense, and then a shot like that goes in. But for him, that is money, as he says.
Yeah, I mean, Jelani's going to make that. So.
No, it's great to see. Big win for Flyers. 5 players finished in double figures in that game. Jelani, Watson, Gale led the way, 16 points, 4 assists. And you look down the stat sheet, I mean, Delpeche on 12 points and 6 boards. VJ King, 13 points. Thomas Bell, 11 points. Tevin Olison, 13 points. A real team win for Flyers to come away with that win.
There's a clip there from Tevin getting a nice little and one play. Like, they were just on one. It was so good to see. What's this one here? Oh, is this a steal?
Yeah, and it was back and forth. But to be down by that much and then to and it was a slow start considering they hadn't played a game in the last 2 weeks. The Flyers did start the game slowly in that game. 10-point lead for Newcastle. I think it was 14 it stretched out to at one point. But chipping away throughout, and then to go into that fourth quarter with a 3-point lead and just holding on for that win at the end, it just sort of shows the tough character of this team.
We've done that, I'd say, 4 or 5 times this season where it's a close one, and those are always the important moments to make a win. And it seems like we've closed most of, if not all of those games out in the last seconds, Joel?
Yeah, there's been some very tight, like we've obviously beaten Manchester at home, opening day of the season, Cheshire away, coming out on top in overtime.
Yeah.
Those are the games that really matter, and they're Flyers, the records still continue. Like, you look at the weekend as a whole, it was a 1 win, 1 loss, and if we move on to Sunday's game, Flyers falling on the road, 82-64, and that was a tough game on Sunday, wasn't it, Sam?
I think you see sometimes London put out a team, you're like, oh, that's a beatable team. But because we did beat them early on in the season, I feel like they're never going to put a team out where you're like, they're resting like lots of their players or anything. I like with the Flyers, we're just going to, we can't lose to them again.
That's exactly why they have a deep squad, London Lions. They're 16 deep. They played an 8-man rotation on Sunday. some of the key players were out. Decker, Oni, Zubcic, they weren't playing, but they've got great players to fill in their shoes, and that's exactly the reason why you go that deep in this league, because those are the games you could easily slip up if you've got those players playing heavy minutes night in, night out.
It's a shame because what I've seen it happen before with London as well. As we went down by 20-ish points, like early on, like maybe in the second quarter, and then. We kind of ended 20 points down as well. Like we stuck with them, we stayed with them, but the problem is they already got that 20-point lead, and there's not a lot we can do about that, is there, Joel?
Yeah, I mean the Flyers are held to just 8 points in that second quarter. We did win that second half, as you say, but the second quarter just proved too costly. And again, we talk about when you look at the two games over a weekend, and we said this last time, but you look at the season in chunks, right? So if you go into this weekend, and I know the lads disappointed about not coming out on top against London on Sunday, but that just shows how determined they are to be successful this year, because at the end of the day, if you go into this game and you're like, right, we'll take 1 or 2 wins, we'll be happy with that, currently sitting second in the league, I think a lot of people would take 1 or 2 wins going into the weekend. Yeah. Obviously, everyone but the team would likely take that, but the fact that they are disappointed about the defeat just goes to show. And tricky one, that one on Sunday, but it's always tough playing at London as well. They haven't lost at home yet this season. All their losses this season for the Lions have been on the road. Yeah. So the Copper Box is like a fortress, and a great atmosphere as well. They had about 4,000 fans in there, and they're slowly growing their audience. So that you talk about them representing the BBL on the European stage this season. The difference between our last visit there, like last season, and now, the number of fans they're getting in is awesome. Just to run through the top scorers in that one, Kufos and Nelson both had 18 points apiece. Flyers, they were led by Thomas Bell with 16, but Jelani Watson-Gale had 17 points and 7 rebounds off the bench. Some weekend for Jelani, right?
He is unstoppable right now. He's currently with the GB camp, isn't he? Training with them. There's a match tomorrow night, Friday night, isn't there?
Yeah, that's right. So obviously he was named in the initial 24-man squad, Jelani Watson-Gale, for their upcoming FIBA World Cup qualifiers, which they're obviously out of FIBA World Cup qualifying, so their games don't mean anything. So it could be an opportunity for Jelani, if he does get named in that final squad, to get his first cap, which would be hugely valuable to him.
When do we find out if he's made it into the squad, Joel?
So I spoke to Jamie Thomas, shout out Jamie, on the phone today. He's out there, he's the social media manager for the BBL, but also is working with the GB national team right now, and he is out there at camp, and they said they're announcing the squad tonight, which if you're listening to the podcast on Friday, you'll probably know whether Jelani will be named in that squad. So 10 of the 24 players, by the way, in that initial squad, all coming out of the BBL.
That is actually incredible. Like, is this the first? Is that the most it's ever been?
It was a similar number, I believe, for the last window, but the numbers certainly, the trend's going up. Like, a lot more players are playing for GB, from playing for a BBL team, and even players like Kimball McKenzie now, who is a Canadian with a British passport, and getting the nod into the initial squad. It is great to see, and there are a lot of players that used to play in the BBL as well in that initial squad. So hopefully we can bring more of them back to the domestic league, because the more players come back to, especially the direction BBL is going, the more players that come back, that's what everyone wants to see. They want to see their homegrown stars playing in the BBL.
It'll be interesting to see how many of the 12 named for tomorrow's game will be from the BBL. We'll talk about that next week, I'm sure, but yeah.
Yeah, the announcement, I believe, is around 9 p.m-ish tonight, which is Thursday night. So if you're listening on Friday, you'll know whether Jelani Watson-Gale is in the squad. Belgium on Friday night at Virtue Motors Arena before they take on Serbia in Belgrade for the final game of their qualifying campaign on February 27th. A couple more bits to run through here. Retro jerseys. Last week was our jersey episode of the Flyers podcast. The BBL's announced a series of retro games involving the Leicester Riders, Newcastle Eagles, Cheshire Phoenix, and the Manchester Giants. So 5 regular season games coming up in the BBL, and each of those teams will wear a retro version of their uniform from years gone by.
And now I don't understand this, Joel, fully. Like, are they ones that literally are old ones, or are they brand new ones?
I believe Kappa, because of the kit manufacturer. So Kappa is recreating those old uniforms from years gone by.
I love that.
So it'd be difficult for us to do a retro night for Flyers because obviously our previous uniforms are just off the shelf ones through the Div 1 days, and we've only been in the BBL for 9 years now.
Yeah.
So there's not too many kits from the past that we could really. It wouldn't be very retro if you're doing a kit from like 9 years ago, would it? So
we'll be in the retro club like in what, another 5-10 years or so.
yeah, that'd be awesome, wouldn't it? Imagine that. Some old school kits. Leicester Riders, they're wearing their 1987 uniform. Chester Phoenix are wearing the Jet Wash uniform. The Manchester Giants, they're wearing their pinstripes with the big Jolly Green Giant logo on it. I don't know if you've ever seen that logo.
Yeah, I remember that.
Give it a Google if you haven't. It should be really great to see. What else have I got on my list? A couple player transactions to go through. The signing window is fastly approaching. Surrey Scorchers have announced that Jalen Ray is out for the season.
Tough.
Yeah, they've battled through injury problems themselves, so keep an eye on that one if they do sign a replacement for him. They've still got, at the time of recording, about a week to sign a replacement if they do. Obviously, teams can't sign any more new players after the end of February. Another transaction in the league. Sheffield Sharks have announced the departure of forward Turin Flowers, and he's been replaced by American guard Jalen Pipkins from the Finnish Korisliiga, which is the league that Trajan Jacob went off to after he left the Flyers last season. Salon Vilpers, he averaged 10 points a game last season.
Oh, wow. He should be all right then.
Yeah, he had his debut at the weekend. He finished with... it was a 5-point defeat to Manchester. He had 9 points and 6 rebounds in that game.
To be fair, we've said it over and over again, but debuts are never, they're never really special, are they? Often they're not just like, wow, they've gone off for 40, 50 points or 30 points or anything. So, give him a few games and maybe he'll be tearing it up. We'll see.
Yeah. Last thing, we just got to get through a couple of things actually before we move on to the next segment from UWE. And I just want to take a look at the league table going into the rest of the regular season, because you say at the top of the show, 11 games left now in the league table. Flyers are currently second, 18-7, and there are some big games coming up now. Just 2 months left of the regular season.
So it looks like, Leicester, they've still got 3 games in hand on us, but we were looking at the fixtures coming up. Leicester still have to play London twice. We've got to play London one more time. So if we can sneak a win at home, that'd be amazing. Hopefully London will... we do want them to beat Leicester realistically, don't we, Joel? They're probably going to cement themselves at the top of the table there. So if we have London beating Leicester too, then we've got one more final game against Leicester, which will... I think we're ahead on head-to-head in terms of points difference as well, aren't we?
Well, we lead... So right now we lead the series 2-1.
Yeah.
So if we can figure out a way of winning or not winning by as many as they've beaten us by, if that makes sense for points difference, if the teams are tied at the end of the season, the team with the highest points difference will then finish above. So that game's massive. And so a bunch of big games coming up throughout the next 2 months. There's Manchester Giants game, a couple of games against Manchester Giants coming up, Southwest Derby against Plymouth, and then you say there's 2 big games coming up. We've got London Lions and Leicester Riders as well. So it should be great.
Yeah.
Obviously, all games are sold out. So if you do keep an eye on the Bristol Flyers website, bristolflyers.co.uk, if we can grab a couple more wins, I believe we can clinch playoffs in a couple of weeks' time. We'll see. Last thing we've got to do before we get to the next section from UWE is Word of the Week. And obviously last week we had no, this week we have no games, so there's no need to spin the wheel this week. However, last week we did spin the wheel and it landed on the word tofu, which was some game trying to get that one in there. I almost forgot to say it, Sam, but I did manage to get it in the fourth quarter. Or it's the break between the third and the fourth, and I was chatting to Gareth about it. Shall we take a listen?
Let's have a go.
And it's been an extremely physical battle out there tonight. It's one of those ones where you have to make sure you eat your fruit and veg. You got to eat your tofu, your beef. It's both teams going at it in there inside in the paint.
Both teams going at it. You had to eat your vegetables and eat your tofu.
The thing is, right? You've got it. You count. I'm not going to take it away from you, but for me, Joe, it has to work. It has to fit nicely into your commentary.
Well, how on earth? I was going to say about something bad then. How on earth are you supposed to get the word tofu into commentary in a natural way?
I don't know.
I don't want beef. I want tofu.
Yeah.
Something like that. So anyway, shout out to Matt Hardy for giving us that word to spin, and it landed on it. So we will come back in, a couple of weeks' time when we're back at home. Right. Time for us to get back down to UWE, and it is half time in the game between UWE and Durham. UWE with a big 20-point lead, and we had a chance to catch up with former Flyers captain Josh Rogers, but first, Corey Samuels.
This is the Bristol Flyers Podcast.
Corey Samuels is over here, by the way. He's just had his half time in the game. What's that? How's it like for you out there, mate? Big 20-point lead at half time?
Well, we ain't doing a too bad job, having fun out there. Everyone's obeying the scout. Even that last free, he made it, but he shouldn't have made it. So, trying to get some more highlights, just make it a fun game. As long as we come away with a dub. We got Mr. Rogers in the building. Last season captain. Get Mr. Rogers on the podcast.
Josh Rogers here on the you're on the Bristol Flyers podcast right now, Josh. We're on the road this week. We're taking it to UWE game. You're not playing today. Tell us more.
I'm getting old, man. My back, walking around like this. But I mean, if we can win the second half, then hopefully I'll be back for the semi-final in 2 weeks. I didn't realise Corey could jump like that. That was wild.
Hey, that was a big. Corey's alley-oop. That was big, wasn't it?
He's all grown up, isn't he? Yeah. It brings a tear to your eye.
It only seems like yesterday we're seeing Corey, the photos do the rounds on social media, don't they? Corey, we rip him out every year.
Yeah, I used to let him play in the Matt Bromley game like a sort of like a little kid who'd won a prize. But look at him now. Yeah, it's great to see.
And tell us about yourself, mate. What have you been up to since we saw you last in a Flyers uniform?
Well, I'm finishing my masters, and then I'm just kind of looking to do my next chapter in 9 to 5 life, and other than that, just getting back to football, my first love, and gonna move to London pretty soon. But I've been keeping up with the Flyers, obviously. Me and Raf said we feel it's bittersweet to see them doing so well without us, but Raf's opinion was that we started it. Yeah. But I don't know, I'm feeling a little bit like DeMar DeRozan when he left Toronto, but anyway, it's great to see.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what you made of the season so far to BBL. Have you been down to many games at SGS, or are you sort of following online?
Nah, I've just been following online. Like, I keep meaning to get down to a game, but it's a great group. Like, you can just see, it's just a really great group of players. Like, I would enjoy playing with them, to be honest. But yeah, it's great to see, and it's good to see. Like, you can see the buzz as well, and that's great. And so, I mean, hoping that they go all the way.
Yeah, there was a real buzz around basketball, wasn't there, last year in the playoffs, when Mike had that shot and Malcolm with that block, and it just seems to have grown, really, hasn't it, from there on, and, the plans for the future with the club certainly are bright as well.
Yeah, definitely, and, it's great to see, these players, coming in and they're only here for a year, but the way they are conducting themselves, the effort they're showing is, it really... it's the right way to represent the club, you know what I mean? So it's great to see. It's testament to all their character. And yeah, exciting, man. It's exciting to see the next few years, the stadium and everything. So yes, it's only up. Yeah, it's good, man.
We were just talking to Kobe and Corey Hill, who are here watching the game this afternoon, and they were just saying how inspired they are by seeing players like your Malcolms, your Coreys, especially Corey, who comes through the whole pathway and then up into the first team, and that's something that they kind of want to emulate. So how proud does that make you as a player that's done that yourself and gone through that whole journey and seeing the next generation now?
Nah, it's amazing. Me and Corey talk about it from time to time. Just just to be able to be a small part of that process. And I mean, Corey had 55 points the other day, didn't he, or something crazy? So he'll be the next one. Corey Hill, I'm talking about. So they'll be the next one, and then there'll be kids who are probably 3 or 4 right now who've been after them, and it's just great that the club gives a vehicle for that to happen. It's a great thing great memories, great thing to see continuing on for the future. Yeah, it's good.
Awesome. Well, we'll let you crack on, mate, because I know you're super busy on game day watching the team and stuff. Sam, thank you so much. What a great chat that was with Josh Rogers.
Mate, Josh was such a pivotal part of the team for so many, 2 years, well, obviously way before, but then 2 years with us. Like he was saying, I know he was joking about him and Raf sort of starting it and it sort of building from there, but realistically, they were a vital part of the team. Josh as a captain, coming through, developing these players more. It was so great to have him. Hopefully his back gets better soon. Wish all the best for him. And yeah.
Well, there's a 20-point lead for UWE back to the game here, at half-time. Should we go see, I think a couple of BBL players are here, Flyers BBL guys. Should we go say hello? Look who we've run into. It's only VJ King. How's it going, VJ?
How you doing? Glad to be here. Nice little game.
Yeah, it's a good little game, isn't it? And you guys have the week off this week, so come down and check out some UWE basketball. What have you made of it?
It's good to see guys, in their own area, in their own realm, what I'm saying, when they're not playing with us. So just come out and support the guy, that's it.
And you see Malcolm Delpeche putting on some moves. Corey Samuels, I mean, you've been here from the start. Talk to us through about that Corey dunk in the first half.
He be out there floating, man. He be out there pausing in the air. But, man, like I said, it's good to see guys playing and just having fun. But we definitely going to have fun on the sideline. But Corey's definitely he's been impressive so far. So he's been a key man for us.
Before we let you go, I need to ask you one more question. When are we going to see some of these Corey Samuels dunks in the BBL game?
Hey, you asking the wrong person. I don't know. He'll get an opportunity one day.
Well, mark it here first. We'll see it one day on the podcast. VJ, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Well, we are at the end of the third quarter here. We're on track for an 100-point game. UWE on 75, Durham here on 43. It is a bit of a killing right now, isn't it, Joe?
You saw that at the end. Corey Samuels just grabbed the rebound and just threw it at the end of the court, just like right into the corner. He didn't go for the bucket, he just like threw it into the corner.
He was trying to hit the Durham bench, I think. No, I'm joking.
Well, I'll tell you what, we are very lucky to be joined over here. There's none other than right here, Bristol Flyers guard Tevin Olison. Tevin, welcome to the Flyers podcast. We're down here at UWE today watching the playoff game. What have you made of it out there?
Very exciting. We got a nice little crowd out here. I don't know how many people we got out here, but it's nice to see my teammates Corey and Mal go at it, man.
Who is killing it for you right now? Who's MVP in this first three quarters?
I'm gonna go with Corey.
What did you make of that dunk? Talk us through it.
I didn't think he could actually get it because it was kind of off-vert, but yeah, I'm not surprised. He do a lot of that stuff in warm-ups.
We were just asking VJ King when he can expect Corey to start to put one out in the BBL, but what do you reckon? Can we see 11 from Corey in the BBL soon?
I hope so. We've been trying to get him to do it, but I guess it's kind of a risk one, but we'll see.
Obviously no game for you guys this weekend. You're got international break. Your boy Jelani's out there killing it right now with the GB team. What are you going to do with your weekend off?
Get a lot of rest and just relax.
No low and slow on the cars or anything like that? No Spitfire? No anything like that?
Ooh, Spitfire might be on the calendar. Yeah, Spitfire might be on there. Yeah.
Awesome. Fourth quarter coming up. What's your prediction for the rest of this game?
Oh my God, they're up by 32 right now. I'm gonna say they end winning by 50.
Winning by 50?
Are we making 100 points?
It's gonna be tough, but I think we can do it. Yeah, we can do it.
One last thing before we let you go. I noticed you were talking to Malcolm while he's shooting his free throws there. What was that about?
Just messing with Malcolm a lot. We like to play a lot off the court, so just like to mess with him all the time. That's it.
Love it. Well, there you have it. UWE come out on top, 100 points to 57. The end of the fourth quarter, they reached their 100-point mark. Sam's gone and left me all by myself now, so I am on my own. We will try and find some stats from today's game to run through in the studio. A big win for UWE. They advance to the next round. I'll throw it back to Joel and Sam in the studio.
This is the Bristol Flyers Podcast.
Well, Sam's left me all by myself. He's left me all. There he is. He's joking. He's come out of there.
Just pure jokes over it.
Great. Oh, that was the end of our UWE segment. Congrats to UWE on getting the win. Big win for them. And they advanced to the semi-finals.
Semi-finals are against?
Well, it's on my notes. They play against Newcastle University at home. So that game's in a couple of weeks' time on Wednesday, the 8th of March.
All of these teams coming from all the way up north, Joe, all the way down to sunny Bristol.
Well, when you finish top of your conference, you get to play at home. That is the benefit of finishing top.
I love that.
Great to chat to some the Flyers guys down there. Great for them to show their support for Malcolm and Corey and Ibuka and that lot as well.
It's just. Did you see there was that clip? You edited, so you saw it. But Corey did his. He finished well, and then there's Tevin pushing him over, and then who's there? Leslie shouting at him. I just love it. It's so good.
Yeah, I think it's just good for them to show their support to the team. You know, there's nothing else going on a Wednesday afternoon. They'll come on down to UWE, and they've literally stood on the baseline for the whole game and just watched it out. I think there's a few words being exchanged as well between them and the players. It's just you know what it's like. It's that friendly chat. They have.
Wasn't Tevin trying to put off Delpeche while he was shooting free throws?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was trying to put off Malcolm Delpeche. So yeah, just a little bit of fun. But a massive win for UWE. 100 points to 57. They managed to get their big 100. Big win for them. I've got the box score here as well, actually, from the game, and some big performances from UWE players. You've got to give a massive shout out to Corey Samuels. He finished with 16 points, 15 rebounds, and 8 assists.
15 rebounds is a joke. You hear when people get triple doubles or double doubles, they're like, 10, 11 rebounds. Above that, 15 is crazy, isn't it?
All that in 27 minutes, by the way. Other stats: Malcolm Delpeche, 21 points, 12 rebounds in 28 minutes.
Yeah.
And then just a little look at some of the other guys. Ibuka had 19 points and 9 rebounds in that game. It's just a solid team win in the end for UWE. So it was great for us to go down there and take the podcast on the road. Bit of nostalgia for you and I, Sam, being former UWE students ourselves. And I think it's good to just cover some of, with no BBL game, it was a great way to spend our week, wasn't it?
We didn't get a chance to have a chat to George Varney, who's the head coach for the UWE team. He didn't actually want to because he's like, you don't want me on the camera. I don't want it. But he is doing a great job down there. George used to play with him as well down in when we played Flyers Div 4, and he's a wonderful point guard himself. So yeah, it's great to see.
And Corey Samuel was obviously, when we got there to the game, Corey's like, you got to speak to my mates, Joel. We got to speak to my... And he pointed out his friends that were watching the game, and we never got a chance to speak to them, which was a shame.
Such a shame.
It would have been quite funny for us to go and speak to some of his friends to ask him about Corey. Could have been pretty good.
Next time, mate. Always next time.
Next time. Right, I think that about just wraps up this week's episode of the podcast. Thanks for tuning in to this one. It was a great one, wasn't it? A UWE special. No guest needed when you've got all that great content from the UWE game. Sam, what did you make of that game as a whole? It was great for us to go down there, wasn't it?
I just love the environment. Jealous of it wasn't like that when we were playing, but it was great to see. Loads of fans. Had the cheerleaders down, cheering them on. The music was great. I just wish there was potentially a bit more seating because it's just not a lot of space in there. There's always other sports going on the other side of the sports hall, so it's hard to sort of fill in that side. But yeah, Joel, loved it. Loved every second.
Still no news on that varsity, by the way, against UOB. Of the latest, we did receive an email about it, but we haven't had a follow-up. So hopefully that can happen.
I did actually have a meeting with UWE yesterday, a partnership meeting, and they were chatting. Maybe we do it, but not with UOB. Maybe we do it with another university that potentially is more of a battle.
Ooh, so watch this space.
Watch this space.
When we know more, you'll know more. Right, that's a good place for us to wrap up this week's episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. Don't forget we are available on all major podcast providers and on YouTube. Sam, you know what I'm going to ask you? Anything else you want to add before we get this show on the road?
Better not, because we've run over. I've literally got a meeting in 2 minutes, so I better go and do that job.
Off you. Tell you what, you go pop off for your meeting, and we'll see you same time next week here on the Bristol Flyers Podcast.